Welcome to this April 21st, 2020 virtual public meeting for the United States Highway 287 Frontage Roads Feasibility Study presented by the Texas Department of Transportation, Dallas District. Please note that you may pause this video at any time to allow additional time to study each slide. On behalf of Dallas District Engineer Mo Burr, the Department appreciates your interest in this US 287 study. The Department's project manager for this study is Ms. Elizabeth Libby Russell, and the consultant project manager is Mr. Nasser Abu Saad of Civil Associates. These individuals and their study team members will be responding to your questions regarding this study. This meeting has been convened by the Department's Dallas District Office and is being held to receive and consider comments from the public regarding the US 287 Frontage Roads Feasibility Study. The approximately 32-mile study area is outlined in red on the study location map and spans from State Highway 360 in the city of Mansfield southward to West Lampasas Street in the city of Ennis. This study area directly involves the municipalities of Ennis, Grand Prairie, Mansfield, Midlothian, Waxahachie, and Ellis County. This public meeting has four essential purposes. 1. Inform the public of the status of the study and present the US 287 corridor improvement recommendations based on study evaluations performed to date. 2. Describe the study to learn how the US 287 recommendations may potentially affect the community, commuters, and property owners. 3. Provide the public an opportunity to view information and express their viewpoints at this stage in the planning process, when flexibility to respond to comments still exists and before the study evaluations and recommendations are finalized. 4. And finally, to develop a record of public views and participation to accompany recommendations for subsequent decisions. This public meeting is being held in compliance with both federal and state laws. This Texas Department of Transportation US 287 study adheres to the National Environmental Policy Act, known as NEPA, and a Memorandum of Understanding between the Department and the Federal Highway Administration, or FHWA. Prior to December 16, 2014, the FHWA reviewed and approved documents prepared under NEPA. On December 16, 2014, the Department assumed responsibility from FHWA to review and approve certain assigned NEPA environmental documents. The agreement between TxDOT and FHWA was renewed on December 9, 2019. Due to the general nature of this US 287 feasibility study, the production of an environmental document is not required at this time. During the next phase of this project, a NEPA document would be produced along with a preliminary design schematic. Following this public meeting, the department will proceed with documenting the final study recommendations. Your statements and comments will be addressed in the documentation and will be given full consideration in the preparation of the final recommendations. At the conclusion of this presentation, you will be provided several methods to submit your statements and comments. The informational study materials prepared by the US 287 study are available for inspection and reproduction by visiting www.keepitmovingdallas.com, clicking US Highways at the top of the page, and then selecting US 287 Frontage Road Improvements Feasibility Study. The information found at this website is the same information being presented today. The purpose of this feasibility study is to identify and evaluate the potential installation of continuous one-way frontage roads along US 287, including access control and bridge structures, also known as grade separations. US 287 access ramps and/or main travel lanes that may require adjustments or expansions, particularly to accommodate the frontage roads, will be evaluated during a future US 287 roadway design schematic phase. There are several steps in the feasibility study process. Step 1 identified, evaluated, and compared various build alternatives to install the frontage roads, as well as a no-build or do-nothing alternative. Step 2 occurred in June 2019 when TxDOT presented the build and no-build alternatives at a series of 3 public meetings. Step 3 reviewed the public comments received at the June 2019 public meetings, which included input from the individual municipalities located along the US 287 corridor. Step 4 is now presenting the recommended build alternative for public review and comment during the virtual public meeting. This solution entails the installation of frontage roads, frontage road cross-street intersection improvements, and the preliminary right-of-way footprint necessary to install the roads and improvements. Step 5 will conclude the study with the production of a US 287 frontage roads feasibility study report. After the completion of this study, the department forecasts these next step phases, beginning with roadway schematic design, environmental NEPA studies, and further public involvement outreach. After this step will be construction plan design and utility coordination and relocations, and finally, roadway construction. After the design schematic completion process, right-of-way preservation occurs via land use planning and right-of-way acquisition. Note that the date ranges listed are subject to change. The build and no-build alternative evaluation and comparison process involves travel demand evaluations along US 287 in the form of forecasted year 2045 traffic volumes, traffic safety evaluations which include crash history locations, minimization of impacts, and municipality and stakeholder agency outreach and coordination. The US 287 study evaluations and decision-making process also includes the investigation of environmental and physical constraints within the US 287 study area, which is outlined in red on the constraints map. Example constraints are sensitive NEPA sites and major utility lines. The legend lists the major environmental constraints considered and identified for the study. When viewing the maps, please note the various constraint locations identified on the maps, as well as the noted individual municipalities located along the US 287 corridor. To view the entire constraints map as one complete and unsegmented graphic, please visit www.keepitmovingdallas.com, click US Highways at the top of the page, and then select US 287 Frontage Road Improvements Feasibility Study. The recommended US 287 build alternative consists of installing one-way, two-lane frontage roads from east of the US 287 and State Highway 360 interchange southward to West Lampasas Street in Ennis, Texas. These frontage roads would tie directly into the various existing frontage roads along the corridor. They would also tie directly into the previously planned and partially constructed improvements associated with the State Highway 360 interchange design, which is managed by the department's Fort Worth District Office. The two-way frontage roads that currently exist at limited locations along the US 287 corridor will be converted to one-way frontage roads. In conjunction with the frontage roads, the frontage road cross-street intersections are recommended to be improved with added travel lane and turning lane capacity. The recommendations also include replacing the existing median crossovers with bridges. These grade separation structures will allow the intersecting cross-street traffic to safely underpass or overpass the higher speed US 287 main travel lanes. These grade separated interchanges include signal-free turnarounds, which allow frontage road travelers to U-turn from one side of US 287 to the opposite side of US 287. The recommended pedestrian and bicycle mode elements are composed of 5-foot wide sidewalks and 12-foot wide shared use paths. The shared use path locations are preliminary and intended to link North Texas's regional VeloWeb routes, which are mapped and overseen by North Texas's Metropolitan Planning Organization, known as the North Central Texas Council of Governments. The recommended alternative exhibit visually presents the recommended build alternative. This exhibit is composed of 12 individual sheets. To view the exhibit, please visit www.keepitmovingdallas.com. Click U.S. Highways at the top of the page, and then select U.S. 287 Frontage Road Improvements Feasibility Study. Any location of interest along the corridor can be found on the sheet index map located in the lower left portion of each sheet. As noted on the legend in the upper left portion of each sheet, the recommended rural frontage road installations are depicted by the green linear shapes. The width of the shapes equals the approximate physical width of each frontage road. The urban frontage road installations are depicted by the blue linear shapes, which predominantly are located in the developed, urbanized areas of the US 287 corridor. Each of the frontage road alignments adhere to a minimum design speed of 50 miles per hour. The existing right-of-way or property lines are shown as dashed orange lines. The proposed right-of-way lines are shown as dashed red lines and indicate the potential property acquisition that would be necessary to install the US 287 recommended improvements. Existing cross-street and driveway access to the US 287 main lanes will be removed, and access will instead be reestablished to the installed frontage roads. The specific access design details will be determined during the future US 287 roadway schematic design phase. The rectangular elements along each frontage road indicate potential bridges needed to accommodate the frontage roads, typically in the vicinity of ravines or bodies of water. Recommended cross-street bridges, which allow the intersecting cross-street traffic to safely underpass or overpass the higher speed US 287 main travel lanes, are also highlighted. These bridge locations have primarily been determined by local municipality thoroughfare plans, which indicate both these grade separation bridges and other municipality preferred improvements along the US 287 corridor, such as intersection capacity improvements. Due to the constrained existing right-of-way widths, as well as physical constraints such as utility lines, an adjacent railroad, and U.S. Army Corps of Engineers flowage easements, it would be necessary to relocate or shift the US 287 main travel lanes in order to install the frontage roads. These main lane shifts are shown as yellow linear shapes, the width of which equal the approximate physical width of the main lanes. The horizontal travel lane alignment shifts occur at two locations. From Presidential Parkway to 1 mile eastward near North Prong Creek, and from the Business 287 connection west of Waxahachie, eastward to the Old Highway 287 connection located east of Rieger Springs. Also, a recommended vertical US 287 main travel lane shift occurs at Nasuda Road within the city of Ennis, which allows for Nasuda Road traffic to underpass US 287. The recommended rural frontage road section is an open ditch drainage design composed of two 12-foot travel lanes, a 4-foot inside travel shoulder, and a 10-foot wide outside shoulder. The recommended urban frontage road section is a curb and gutter drainage design composed of two 12-foot travel lanes, each separated from the adjacent street curbs by a distance of 2 feet. These recommended typical sections can also be viewed on the separate typical section exhibit and the recommended build alternative exhibit. Please note all the US 287 study recommendations presented during this virtual public meeting are conceptual and therefore are subject to more detailed designs and studies which would be undertaken during the department's future US 287 schematic design, environmental analysis, and public involvement phases, which would include the analysis and optimization of all entrance and exit ramp locations. Location-specific forecast traffic volumes can be viewed on the Level of Service exhibit located on the virtual public meeting website located at www.keepitmovingdallas.com. This exhibit presents the recommended build alternative frontage road cross-street intersection improvements, notably travel lane additions. It also presents a level of service description. Level of service is a measurement of traffic flow and is similar to grades in school, where an A is very good and F is failing. This exhibit also compares 1. The no-build or do-nothing alternative year 2045 traffic volumes and levels of service, and 2. The build alternative volumes and levels of service. As shown throughout this exhibit, the build alternative is projected to improve the level of service at each improved intersection location as compared to the no-build alternative. Additional evaluations produced by the US 287 study that were utilized as part of decision-making and recommendation determinations included 1. An environmental constraints report addressing environmentally sensitive sites along the US 287 corridor, which includes the natural, cultural, and human environment. 2. Traffic operational analysis report. 3. Preliminary traffic noise analysis to determine potential locations of noise mitigation walls. Further evaluation will occur in the next phase of this project, including determining if noise barriers are reasonable and feasible according to FHWA and TxDOT criteria. 4. Hydrologic and hydraulic drainage report. 5. Major utility investigations and utility surveying in the corridor that may influence the build alignment alternatives. And 6. Construction phasing. After the conclusion of the US 287 frontage roads feasibility study, the Texas Department may initiate US 287 schematic design, environmental studies, and further public involvement to determine specific frontage road, cross-street intersection details, and access ramp design details, and proposed right-of-way dimensions. All public comments received during this meeting will be fully considered and responded to in the US 287 virtual public meeting record and be made part of the final documentation for this US 287 study. This documentation will then be made available for public review and copying on the virtual public meeting website. Your comments may be provided online or by mail, email, or voicemail. To provide your comments using our online comment form, access the form at www.keepitmovingdallas.com, click US Highways at the top of the page, and then select US 287 Frontage Road Improvements Feasibility Study, and scroll down to the How to Provide Comments instructions. There is a link for an online comment form that may be completed on the computer and submitted online. There is also a link for a PDF comment form that can be printed and handwritten and then emailed or mailed to the addresses provided. To submit verbal comments, call 469-708-3179 and leave your comment on the voicemail. Questions on this study may be directed to the TxDOT Project Manager, Elizabeth Libby Russell, PE, at libby.russell@txdot.gov or 214-320-4418. Comments must be received or postmarked on or before Wednesday, May 6, 2020 to be included in the documentation for this virtual public meeting. We sincerely appreciate your interest in the US 287 Frontage Roads Feasibility Study. Your questions, comments, and concerns will receive careful consideration. Thank you for attending.